There has been another coup in West Africa. This time around, this coup is not a military one. It is a civilian coup, clad in military attire, if one could describe it as such. West Africa has had its coups in recent years. Burkina Faso, Mali, Guinea, Niger. Now, Senegal has also plunged itself into a democratic coup. And why do we call it a democratic coup? The name is Mandela on Mandela Unveiled. You see, President Macky Sall was supposed to conduct a presidential election this year. In fact, this month, February, on the 25th. However, only he and his cronies know why he decided to postpone the elections till the 15th of December 2024. In his State of the Nation address, he says some of the judges in the electoral process have some irregularities or some bias, or let's call it whatever it is. So they have to make some investigations to streamline the whole process. However, my simple question to Macky Sall is, why don't you get rid of those judges? It's as simple as that. If their involvement in the election would make the election unfair, would make the election to have some irregularities, then the best thing, you have that executive power. Let them step aside. Why do you have to postpone an election for 1 full year just to have investigation? What role do they have to play in the whole election process? Only you, Macky Sall, know why you have decided to plunge your own country into mayhem. And this is not the first time. Dear Macky Sall, since you took power in Senegal, this is not the Senegal you met. Abdoulaye Wade handled this country over to you as peaceful as it is. Senegal has been a beacon of democracy in Africa, especially Francophone West Africa. Francophone West Africa has had a share of coup d'etats. In fact, the word coup d'etat is a French word, which means makes us know and make it even known how frequent coup d'etats are with French African countries. However, Senegal has been very stable and peaceful when it comes to election and election processes. But since Macky Sall took over as president, Senegal has not been the same again. Macky Sall has, from time and time again, tried to impose himself on the people of Senegal. However, the people of Senegal have resisted him in one way or the other. Dear Macky Sall, leadership is not by force. The people of Senegal have given you the mandate to rule them for 2 terms. Dear Macky Sall, your 2 terms is nearing its end. Just honorably move aside and let the next person take control. Ideas do not reside in one person's head. You are not the only person who can develop Senegal. In fact, you are even tearing Senegal apart. Since you took over, there has been mass immigration of young people from Senegal. A lot of Senegalese youth are now asylum seekers, immigrants at the US border. A lot of immigrants in Europe because they've lost hope and faith in the country they once had trust and hope. Today, the youth of Senegal have lost hope, dear Macky Sall, and you have certainly lost touch with the youth of Senegal. Dear Macky Sall, you have once again plunged Senegal into mayhem. The recent riots, we only pray, may Allah intervene. If not, we do not know what will come the weeks after. And there is no need to crack down on angry youth. Dear Macky Sall, you know your country has a very young demography. It speaks volume. The national team at AFCON, the youngest. It speaks volume. Dear Macky Sall, your country has a very young population. They need to be represented. They need their voices to be heard. Once they feel that they don't need you, you just have to honorably and humbly step aside. You have decided to disqualify Ousmane Sonko from the presidential race. Isn't that enough? Dear Macky Sall, the youth of Senegal wanted Ousmane Sonko. You have tried all that you can to disqualify him. You disqualified him this year in January. The youth took to the street and they've realized that there's nothing they can do. And I know, as vicious as you have studied the environment and realized that the youth will vote for the opposition. So you intentionally decide to place an executive order to postpone this election to December 15th. Oh, dear Macky Sall, you truly are undemocratic. The measure you have taken is undemocratic. It's not Republican. It is barbaric. You are a despicable man, dear Macky Sall. Since you took over Senegal, things have not been the same. If the country plunges itself into war, who are you going to rule? People may say France is behind this. But the question I always have for Africans and African people is, if France tells us to set our own house on fire, must we? Should we? Can't our leaders think for themselves? If France says, Macky Sall, continue to stay in power and do our bidding, Macky Sall is old enough to take decisions on his own. As a matter of fact, Emmanuel Macron could probably be his youngest son or his youngest brother. He's old enough to make decisions. So this rests on the African leaders. The ECOWAS has issued a statement, but as to whether that ECOWAS statement would hold is another question. Because the ECOWAS itself has a lot of leaders who are illegitimate. We have a lot of ECOWAS leaders who actually do not even know what they are doing. We have a lot of ECOWAS leaders who would love to entrench themselves in power. Faure Gnassingbé has been in power since the demise of his father. No one wins elections in his country. So if a letter is coming from such a person, Macky Sall, who is trying to follow the same footsteps, probably will not listen. Tinubu's election was contested. And the list goes on and on and on. So, the youth of Africa, the youth of West Africa, we must wake up. We must wake up and stand up for ourselves. The youth of Africa, we must wake up and let some of these leaders know that enough is enough. We must wake up and let the leaders know that we are capable, and we would let them know that we are not the youth of the 20th century, but we are the youth of the 21st century. Dear Macky Sall, do what is right. Return Senegal back to democracy. Return Senegal back to democratic rule. Bring back Senegal's glory. Senegal is a citadel of democracy in Africa and an example to the rest of Francophone West Africa. Dear Macky Sall, you have no business in all this. You go down in history as the worst president who have ever led Senegal. A word to the wise, they always say, is enough. The name is Mandela on Mandela Unveiled. Make sure to subscribe, leave us a comment, share our videos, post and repost, and leave us a comment on what you think about the situation in Senegal. Until we meet next time, adios.